Peace. Bam. Bam. Happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Want to speak to the energy vamping situation, but in a different light. More so in the essence of during my growth, I realized like there's a balance of things. First and foremost, let me say that, all is mind. We create things with our mind, and also though we are co-creators. So I could imagine like in a firm, I live in a beautiful, positive universe, and everything is peachy and loving, and no one wants to harm me, and like I could go into my visualizations and affirmations and breathe those things into existence through my own words and visualizations. But again, I am also co-creating with other beings. And what I'm getting to is basically, that the fact that we do create everything, it is a fact that with energy vamps and situations like that, to a certain extent, we're creating those energy vamps. And I'm going to tell you why I say to a certain extent. Because, and this where, too, doing your own work and being in your spiritual path of not just, reading a book and going off the knowledge of the book, but, like you might read a book and then see what resonates you or test the theory before you actually just believe in it fully. But, I was on, if anybody remember me coming across me in person, or if you catch some of my first videos from when I first started, like everything was positive. We wouldn't have no negative subject matter or no subject matter that dealt with any lower vibrations. I didn't really do any pop culture information. Like everything was just, high vibrational. We're not going to give attention to anything outside of high vibrations. Like that was my whole, my whole thing. But then have situations like, my bike gets stolen, or where I'm again staying optimistic about my vibe and then feel like I'm under psychic attack, and these different things happen, and I'm like, all right, well, I've been being optimistic. I've been focusing on the world that I want to create, and why these things, happen to be coming at me if I'm not focusing on it. Like, how are these things able? Now, for sure, one thing is that, again, we're co-creators. So as much as you are creating your own optimism and positive vibes, there's other vibes outside of your being, not doing different things. But I'm getting back to that place, though, of course, you just want to, I don't even want to use that word now, but for lack of a better word, stay, protected, so to speak, for lack of a better word, from lower vibrations. But in essence, it is all, it's all you, it's all us, it's all me, as far as like what I attract physically, it all has to do with what's going on inside of me. But two, there's a double side to that situation also. The more light, the more positivity you bring into your vibration, it's gonna attract people who see high vibrations as food. So as much as I only vibrate, I only like. I even had that as a affirmation at one time. Like, I'm extremely magnetic to just positive, high vibrational beings. The divine beings that only have my well-being at their highest interest. Like, in which that's still a good affirmation to put out there. But also too, which I had to realize recently, is that to a certain extent, feeling like you have to be protected so much, it's almost like too much awareness becomes fear. You know what I'm saying? And I do feel like that vibe, to a certain extent, was created, dealing with myself, where after those few times of like where books at getting stolen or certain things, it's like, all right, no matter how optimistic I am, these things still manifest within my field. But also not forgetting that, again, I'm optimistic, but it's also coming from, say for instance, we are walking Wi-Fi and we download certain energy and information from each other's auric field. So I don't even have to speak to a certain person, but if they're a type of person that's fearful of certain things and I'm in that auric field for a certain amount of time, we're going to exchange energies, and all of a sudden that subconscious energy of them being scared of an energy vamp or scared of somebody stealing something from them, that plays into my auric field, and then that ends up manifesting within my experience because I got that energy playing within my auric field and indirectly within my subconscious to a certain extent, but more so just in my auric field, or matter of fact in my mental what is the mental aura? Not the emotional. It's the part of our auric field that carries our thoughts, So I would be, staying with that energy just from being in the vicinity of that person, But again, by, just like buying a gun, like if I go buy a gun, and then you try to give yourself the lip service of, oh yeah, I'm just buying a gun, nothing. I'm not scared of nobody. I'm just buying a gun just to buy it. I mean, and indirectly, that's why, that's why you're giving so much lip service, because your higher self feels and knows that you're betraying your higher self. You're betraying the God within you when you're reaching for a weapon, or you feel that a weapon could protect you over energy that's everything and everywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like that would be, more of a safety net than an actual physical gun, I mean, if I just look at it, can a gun shoot a ghost? Or can a gun hit something that's not seeing a physical vibration? No, but things in the non-physical could touch us. So I would rather get in touch with that non-physical energy, or the energies that is hard for us to, see. I'd rather get in touch with, higher self, my internal energy, than be in touch with something that, that only works on physical things, when the physical is a manifestation of the non-physical. And that's another thing too, getting to that point, and that's what they like in all the religious texts and just spiritual texts, where they like, where spirituality, may be hard in essence. That's even though we shouldn't feel like anything is hard or a struggle, that may be the certain thing that's, kind of hard in essence, is to be in this physical world, see all these physical things, fill them with your five senses, but still know to work on the non-physical aspect of things in order for the physical to manifest. Like we feel like if somebody, say for instance, comes around and you being negative, you feel that it's more effective, from what we're taught and being in this physical nature for so long, you feel it's more effective to actually punch that person in the face than to actually, like, just ignore them and, go within and start, say for instance, visualizing that person walking away or doing something else, instead of using your metaphysical abilities, we're prone to just go straight to the physical abilities, and that's where we, being trapped in the physical matrix is, being taken away from dealing with the non-physical energy, But it's also, again, the thin line back to keeping the energy vamps away without, keeping that vibe away by not mentioning it, like stay optimistic and positive, know that your inside manifests what's outside of you. So again, it's a thin line between being positive and optimistic and then being naive towards the situation, because it is a balance. You're way over here, you're a little too off, and if you're way over here, you're a little too off, but right in that middle point. Matter of fact, because also that's why we balancing ourselves out, because God is everything, and by to be on one side of the spectrum, it creates a wall with the other side. So we'll be in a perpetual, just continuous war with ourselves, because we're not balancing and bringing the energies together, because basically that's what we are, is a physical manifestation of what happens when God goes outside itself. When you think to the story of shout out to Mr. Seven Bomar, I think that's his name. Definitely check out his channel. I think it's called Understanding. That brethren coming with that work. He coming with the insight too. And reason why I'm bringing his name up, because it spoke to that vibe. He spoke to that vibe of like and it's something we all know, but just the way he worded it was like, by one energy is basically trying to take over the other constantly. It's like the high vibration trying to control the low vibration trying to control the high, or the dark trying to control the light trying to control the dark. But in essence, the body works perfectly and more fluently when everything is balanced. And quite like how we do that, meditation, following the heart's intuition and being guided by the inside and going within ourselves, because of course books and YouTube videos and all these things help us, but it's about actually going within and doing that work. It's basically an illusion of two energies, trying to control one another. As a matter of fact, and with the ego being on both sides in essence, the light and the dark, because the light, like, hey, I'm light, we gotta push down the dark, and hey, I'm dark, we gotta push down the light, so it's a somewhat of an ego vibe coming from from both vibrations. That's why the level-headed shaman vibe, that in-between center point, that person that's like not for Democrats and not for Republicans, but just for truth, and just for that, that vibe. That's why that vibe resonates so much with us, because that's that true, spot of wisdom in essence, is knowing that, it's a balance of these energies. Not to say that you're not wise about certain things just because you don't know about the balance of the universe, but that's why matter of fact, somebody who resonates with a lot of information, not just one form, is that balance, and that brings wisdom. A person that's like, oh, I just deal with Catholicism and Judaism and that's it, everything else, man. That person has one aspect of of a vibe that's eternal, infinite, as far as how it expands. But again, we gotta get back to knowing that everything starts within ourselves. Reason why certain people doing certain things in your energy field, because it's something you're doing within yourself. Because first and foremost, that's what we got to get back to realizing that it's all through going within. Matter of fact, two shout out to Infinite on the old video. It's like the only way out is going in, and going in is the only way out. The only way out of this thing is to go inside, go inside ourselves. But just definitely wanted to speak to the situation of not, if we feeling, and that's another thing too. We created the dual nature by feeling like something could vamp me or something could, come after me. Then that in essence, just that idea itself creates that separation and creates that vamping situation for something to come for you, since you asking for it. Your wish is my command. That's basically what's happening at all times with our visualizations and our words. Is universe is like, yes, like, man, I'm broke, I ain't got no money. And you be on your conscious stuff, but you just was talking with somebody for a little second who talk like that, like, that abundance is always there, but been talking with somebody, it's like, yeah, the 9 to 5 and that, and then out the blue you might be like, yeah, man, I'm broke, or you might, and it's like, and then the universe like, yes, you are broke, Oh man, I'm struggling with this and that. Yes, you are struggling. You know, that's another hard part or difficult part to the spiritual growth is being optimistic and positive when the negative and lower vibration energies is moving through you. You know, but it is what it is. You know, it's either be optimistic and help transmute that energy or stay in a negative place and amplify the negativity, you know. It's a simple choice. There ain't even much to talk about. You know, it is what it is, you know. And that's basically it, though. Just, how I say, maintain that positive, optimistic vibration, but just, never forget that you are co-creating. So if something, just say for instance, something may happen to still pop up that's negative, or just a certain lower vibrational situation, it doesn't throw you off. If anything, you quickly, because that's what I do. And getting back to that is like always realizing a situation that may seem negative has a lesson in it. It's always, my book sack getting taken, that was a lesson in it. With whatever situation I dealt with, in life, it was something that I signed up for, my soul contract. So that's another reason why, we shouldn't get caught up in certain situations, because it's on the soul contract. But again, stay as positive and optimistic as possible, you know. But again, it's like it's just it's a situation where I should just leave it at that, just stay optimistic and positive. Because I was going to say, like, because even with, again, looking at my own self, I was being super optimistic and positive, and then still something came in my energy field to, throw things off. But again, also, though, these situations I'm talking about, so this is an important fact, and I caught the omens as I said that were like, the the situations that did come to me though weren't necessarily negative. Like just after I just finished saying like how a negative situation may be seen as negative, but it's to bring a bigger lesson. And also negative and positive energy, it flows through us. We're not just positive energy. We are negative energy also. There's negative energy leaving out the bottom of my foot, going into the earth, into Mama Matrix, and a positive energy, coming through the top. Just because something is at the top and something else at the bottom doesn't mean one is better than the other. Again, back to that illusion, of like, oh yeah, it's this against that. That's all illusion. Basically, that's another little chess game trump card that that the certain people have, is still trying to make us have the illusion of that we're up against something outside of our body, and it is all us. And if it is something outside of our body, it's because we created it with our mind. Like it's all us. And as much as it seems like we have to do things outside of ourselves to maintain our vibration and to help ourselves, is going within. And another thing too, like, what you mean by going within? Going within meditation, like if you ever dealt with psychedelics, you'll realize that you're not, like, when we say going into space and stuff like that, you're going into your inner space. I think of the little comic book Micronauts, but you're going in inner space, and there's planets and stars and all that inside of our being, inside of our soul, inside of our internal consciousness. So what going inside means is just that, like meditating, getting inside your torus field, like basically our torus field is like a spinning tornado, or a matter of fact, or like the eye of a storm. You want to go in the middle of that eye the storm. You know how outside the hurricane or that eye, everything, the wind blowing, all, you know, that's a representation of the outside universe. But inside, you know, and the fun of the tourist field is quiet and peaceful and it's balanced. You know, because inside the tourist field is a balance between negative and positive energies. You know, as above, so below. Look at how, you know, things operate in the hierarchy of nature, and you know, certain things outside of our body that gives clarity to what should be going on inside our body. You know, that's the little examples of, you know, looking at something external and using it in an internal manner. But again, you know, it's like you see it on the external level, but then you automatically apply it to the internal situation. You know. But yeah, going inside, you know, meditating, meditating, going inside too. What I mean by it as well is that every situation you come across, always check yourself. That's what going inside means. Going inside means not questioning people or not feeling like a person is your problem, or, you know, like something outside you. You are your problem. The reason why a problem exists outside your physical, because you created it, and through lifetimes of reincarnation, the reason why we're dealing with this bigger situation as a whole, as a collective consciousness, because we all fell asleep at the wheel, you know, as an extension of the universe, you know, and also again with the ego of you know, I ain't gonna say higher self, but, you know, to some of the ancestors and certain gods and ancient beings, you know, think about it like this: the only beings that could be searching for something, you know, outside themselves is beings who lost track of what's inside of themselves. So when we hear stories of the Anunnaki and different beings, you know, searching for gold and, you know, looking, it's, you know, and for myself, I never took the time to think of that myself. Like damn, you know, if they're gods and higher up, you know, another higher hierarchy, so to speak, you know, then why are they searching outside their bodies? You know what I'm saying? If they know, you know, or they should know that God is within everything, you know what I'm saying? So it's that whole vibe right there, you know, of going outside yourself. I'm going to leave planet X to go to Earth and mine gold, you know what I'm saying? Going outside of my body, you know. So it's signs of that, you know, even in those times, you know, in the you know, Anunnaki, forgot his children of Anu. I forgot. Matter of fact, I need to brush up on my terminology, like remembering all these little things. And even with that, it's not about that. I'm getting I'm getting the information across in the most important parts of it that should be grasped. So that's all that matters. That's another thing with giving information. Like, of course, it feels good to be able to give y'all the names, and this name was derived for this, because that is important work, breaking down linguistics. Don't get it twisted, you know, breaking down linguistics. But in certain situations, it's like, you know, depending on how you breaking down information and what information you're breaking down, a lot of those names and things is not necessarily important, you know, depending on what what kind of information you're dealing with or explaining. But that's basically it, you know. Back to the to the gist of the whole situation, where, you know, anything that can harm you outside of your body or has the illusion of that it can harm you, that's because you created the illusion in the first place. And I know we may find it hard to find, you know, like when I get pinched, it's like, oh, it hurt, you know what I'm saying? So we find it hard as beings to ignore the five senses of being in the physical. But I mean, it is what it is, as far as like we are non-physical beings on a human experience, but we are non-physical. And I say non-physical because I mean, even you know, a vibration, sound wave that cannot be seen with the physical eyes, you know, it's still has a physical nature nonetheless, you know. But again, you know, vibration comes before manifestation. You know, the whole game again is trying to get us to look outside of our body. You know, what's the way to get a God to create the world that you want? Have them focus on the things that you want in the world. Oh, I want Republicans and Democrats, so here, let's put this in these guys' face so they could manifest this for us. You know, let's create welfare and black on black crime, you know, and just create these little terminologies and things to allow for, you know, these people to, you know, harm themselves. It's the whole vibe behind it. And again, it's the illusion of two energies, you know. Matter of fact, also personified, like where they put us up against each other on the black and white level too, you know, to make it, you know, seem like, yeah, this is an extension of that battle of dark and light, good versus evil, you know, black man is God, white man is the devil, or, you know, just trying to create, and it's like, it's all illusion that we made for ourselves. And there's always still the fact of that, say for instance, dealing with melanin and carbon, it does have a certain connection to the universe that it gives, but it's not just like how they got a planet like that we own. Like Earth is not greater than none of us just because it's a bigger planet that we're living on. The same thing with us on this planet, you know. Just because some of us have more melanin or carbon than the next doesn't mean we're better. We may operate differently as far as like having a connection to the universe. You know, because from musicians down to, you know, athleticism down to metaphysical connections, you know, it would be, you know, extremely false to say that there's a difference between highly melanated people and people that are, you know, less melanated. It is a fact that exists, but it's not for us to kill each other, hate each other, and fuss with each other behind that situation, you know. It's something that we should acknowledge on a mature level and, you know, and grow from there, you know, see what our skill set is, just like a potluck, you know. So and so make fries good, they should bring the fries, you know. So and so make the for lack of better, no, I ain't even gonna do that. So and so make the hummus good, so they bring the hummus. You know, so and so plant good celery, so let them bring the celery. But we don't need the person who, you know, makes the good hummus to try to plant celery, and the person that plants celery to try to make good hummus. Nah, you know, the person that grows good celery for a reason. The person that make good hummus for a reason. The person who make good fries make it for a reason. And it's not about them fussing like, well, my dish better, you know, my fries is better than your celery, or my hummus better than your celery and his fry. Like, it's not about that either, you know, because that's basically what's happening, you know. And it's like, nah, you know, it's a balance, and it's a balance within that paradox, because it's like, oh, so everything won, you know, then why we not one anymore, because we fail for sure, you know. And again, it's a balance of energies, you know. My whole body is one organism. There's multiple cells within that have multiple different unique functions, but it's all a part of one body, you know. And they're not fussing with each other, you know, saying one better than the other. Which right now we kind of have that on a spiritual energetic level, because, you know, the light or the positive energy, or not even say like they correlate, but, you know, the positive energy thinks it's better than the negative energy thinks it's better than positive, you know. Light want to be better than dark want to be better than light, you know, when they both, it's two sides of one coin. Matter of fact, part of our spiritual growth is to go through the darkness to get to the light, you know. It's to go through that, you know, that dark, because as above, so below, you know, you get a beautiful diamond from carbon going under pressure. And that resonates on so many levels, because carbon and melanin too. And when certain people are under pressure, it may turn them into a diamond on a personification of it, you know. But again, this is not for us to be fussing about who has more melanin and who doesn't. It's just one of those things of recognizing the universe for what it is, and again, seeing how this resonate on a bigger scale, like go within and see how the certain cells that look different still coincide with each other. Matter of fact, are certain cells that's exactly the same with a little bit of something different, but still work as a unit nonetheless. That's where we should see the example. You look at nature, they got, I don't know how many multiple species of insects, within one area. And like, you don't constantly see them throwing nuclear bombs at each other. Like, every time you look at insects, are they always at war? When you look at the animal kingdom, are they just always killing each other just for the fun of it? Like, where lions just killing things and not eating it, or will zebra just go up to a lion and foot them in the mouth? Like, it's like, it's not just war for nothing, So that's another, again, example of, where you could get example from the external, but you're using it internal, Like, you look at the things outside of you on a nature, looking at nature, the plant animal kingdom, and you see how to apply that to your own spiritual growth within yourself, But that is basically it. Just remember, again, stop worrying so much about protecting ourselves from lower vibrations. We are the high vibrations and the lower vibrations. Just vibrate in a frequency of balance and completeness. Like, you just want to, again, just observe. That's another way of being in that zero spot in the eye of your Taurus field, observing what's going on out in the hurricane, out in the tornado. It's not for us to judge the hurricane or tornado, because once the first thought of judgment started, that's when things start to manifest on this level of us being separate. Like, everything is thought, and thought moves at a quantum level. So the most ancient form of which everything is infinite, but just to say that most ancient form of source on a fractal level, is at some point had a little place of like separating itself from itself. Because again, looking at the nature of the fact that we are the universe observing itself, I mean, that's part of of an ego. And another thing too, which we should find a healthier word other than ego, but the ego has a healthy form to it as well. Like, I always use the example of what Terrence McKenna said in one of his lectures, where he's like, you gotta have an ego, enough to know that, say for instance, when I'm hungry, I gotta have enough of an ego to know to stick the spoon in my mouth instead of stick it in the person next to me mouth. Like, I gotta identify with myself that much, but to that extent, you know what I'm saying, and not to where it's tearing down, the construct of our actual being, our true existence and true being. Because another thing too, why we like this, because everybody focusing, either again, focus too far in the past or too far in the future. When you look at the construct of Western civilization and how everything is built on preserving the past, in the South, they still want to reenact the Civil War. We still got old flags, or still got pictures of all these. It's like necromancy in essence, because too, that's another way of them fighting the spiritual awakening. They know it's about being in the moment, and what better way to take people out of the moment than to make them focus on their past? Focus on when you were black people getting hung. Focus on when, you was a European in the cave. Focus on when you were you know, being oppressed, just all these different forms of our past of being. Matter of fact, focus on when you were in the Holocaust. Focus on all, like that's basically what, and they get the population to focus in these areas while they, knowing what's up and dealing with what they got to deal with. But from the old presidents, like show love to the old presidents and Memorial Day. Like I mean, it's all in, it's in the holidays and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like cause too, and you see the difference in like worshiping, the death of things on a physical level. Like matter of fact, killing an animal and holding the antlers up in the house and stuff like that, compared to indigenous celebration of like remembering the ancestors, but remembering their living vibrations and remembering and knowing that the vibration still moves with us, and not on no just let's put a picture up for Uncle so and so. No, like Uncle so and so still moving through us, like Uncle so and so still, in the movement with it. So that's another thing too is you see that chess game of like trying to keep people in the past, or constantly worrying about the future, like what's going to happen tomorrow. That's what the news kind of keep a person on that vibe as well. Like what I got to see what's going to happen tomorrow. What matter of fact, even down to what the weather going to be like or this and that. It's just any way to jerk you into worrying about the future instead of being in the moment at all times. So it's all the different little things that go on to separate us, because at the end of the day too is about just knowing that we manifest everything with our thoughts, our words, our vibration, down to the point where almost all of us who make these occult esoteric videos, we all could stop right now just on that note. Like, bro, we just need to, start visualizing and speaking on the world we want to see, point blank period, and the rest is just honing in on these abilities, but at the same time, that's basically it, down to the point where it's like having that balance of when we speaking on this information, we're not doing it in a fashion that makes you want to cling to our every word, or at least let me speak for myself, like I'm trying to make sure that you quickly find out that you don't have to watch my videos, that all this information is within yourself. Matter of fact, I'll be happy whenever we get to a point where it's like you don't even have to do videos, you know what I'm saying? Because even in this point, it's not a have to in essence, but it is in the balance of to really combat the media and what it's been doing to us for so long. It's some of us that work on this platform, on YouTube and with these channels to combat that energy, so it's kind of like a job that just has to be done in its earliest stages of spiritual development. Like once we grow more and more, we'll have less and less of these these videos in essence, and more connecting, like send a little mental text message and we all meet up in a certain little spot, or we send each other a mental hologram telepathy picture, almost like a little movie that explains things to each other, so, and we want to keep these things in a vibe of it being realistic, because it is realistic, and it is again our true design in nature. Now again, I do feel a vibe of a balance being in this lifetime, where it's not gonna be just like we're gonna get away from the lower vibrations of falsehoods, like just of lies and falsehoods. That's the lower vibration we kind of getting rid of in essence. I mean, the light and the dark still exists, but it's gonna exist on a, on a much higher vibrational manner, and that's basically, it's not an elimination of a certain energy as much as it's a balance of two energies. Because I mean, again, and also focus on the past, like, oh man, we gotta get things back to a high vibrational state like it was, or we gotta get things back to a full lower vibrational state like what? Like, that's how we pass the duality test, is like being in the moment. What's best for the moment? Of course, all that that fly jive of and not to say it like that, but it's just realistic of like going back to Africa, or doing these roots things. Because again, these are energies. Going back to Africa could help your energy, in essence. But I'm just speaking more of the essence of like people who's living in the past, like just trying to revamp a certain energy that we're not supposed to be bringing forward where we're going, in essence. So again, being in the moment. When we too far in the past, then we holding on to past vibrations, Oh man, I've been oppressed this long, so I gotta get these people back for the past, you know. Like it's like, nah, bro. Especially if you're considering yourself to be a god, or something that's so this and so that, then why you feel the need to get back at somebody who's supposedly the devil and inferior to you? And I'm just making fun of that, that aspect, but it's like it's a balance, but to each his own on how we feel about that situation, as far as like this has to resonate with the heart, and intuition. So but that's basically it, y'all. Peace. Happy now. Now's the vibrate. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace.